They said he was too weak. They laughed when he tried. They whispered when he failed. They pointed at his scars and called them proof. They looked at his silence and called it fear. They measured his slow steps and called them failure. But what they did not understand was this: weak does not mean finished. Quiet does not mean powerless. Slow does not mean losing. And broken does not mean done. This is the story of a man they underestimated. This is the story of strength nobody saw coming. He was not born powerful. He was not born confident. He was not born fearless. He was born doubted. He was born overlooked. He was born into a world that judged him before he ever had a chance to prove himself. Every classroom had someone smarter. Every playground had someone stronger. Every competition had someone faster. And every time he tried, he heard the same sentence: "You are not enough." Those words followed him like a shadow. Not enough talent, not enough confidence, not enough strength, not enough leadership, enough courage. After a while, he started believing it. When the world repeats something long enough, it begins to sound like truth. He stopped raising his hand. He stopped volunteering. He stopped dreaming loudly. He made himself smaller, so nobody would notice his weaknesses. He thought survival meant invisibility. He thought safety meant silence. But something inside him refused to die. There was a small voice buried under the noise of criticism. That voice whispered, "You are more." That voice refused to surrender. Even on the nights when he doubted himself, even on the mornings when getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain, even on the days when failure felt permanent, that voice stayed alive. He was not the strongest in the room, but he was the one who kept showing up. He was not the fastest learner, but he was the one who kept practicing. He was not the loudest speaker, but he was the one who kept thinking. He began to understand something powerful. Strength is not about how hard you hit, about how many times you can get hit and still stand up. Weakness is not falling behind. Weakness is quitting. And he had not quit. Every insult became fuel. Every rejection became training. Every closed door became a lesson. When they laughed, he trained harder. When they doubted, he focused deeper. When they ignored him, he built himself in silence. He stopped chasing approval. He started chasing growth. He stopped trying to impress people. He started trying to improve himself. Slowly, things began to change. Not outside, but inside. His confidence was no longer dependent on applause. His motivation was no longer dependent on validation. He realized that the same people who called him weak had their own hidden fears. The same people who mocked his dreams were terrified of chasing their own. The same people who judged his scars were hiding their wounds. Behind every critic was insecurity. Behind every insult was projection. And behind every doubt was someone afraid of being wrong about him. Strong overnight. There was no magical transformation. No sudden breakthrough. No viral moment of success. It was built in ordinary days. It was built in quiet mornings. It was built in lonely nights when nobody clapped and nobody cared. He kept reading when others were sleeping. He kept training when others were partying. He kept planning when others were gossiping. He turned pain into discipline. He turned fear into focus. He turned weakness into strategy. He studied his flaws instead of denying them. He worked on his body. He worked on his mind. He worked on his habits. He understood that growth is uncomfortable. He understood that progress is invisible in the beginning. Like a seed under the soil, nothing looks different until one day everything changes. And then the results began to show. The same people who ignored him started noticing. The same people who doubted him started asking questions. The same people who laughed started watching closely. His voice became steady. His steps became firm. Presence became undeniable. He was not pretending anymore. He was becoming. They said he was too weak. But they forgot something. Weak people do not survive years of doubt. Weak people do not fight battles nobody sees. Weak people do not rebuild themselves again and again. What they saw as weakness was actually endurance. What they saw as silence was actually preparation. What they saw as failure was actually foundation. There came a day when opportunity knocked, not because he was lucky, but because he was ready. Years of unseen effort met one visible moment, and he delivered. Not perfectly but powerfully, not loudly but confidently, not desperately but prepared. That was the moment everything shifted. The narrative changed, the labels fell apart, the whispers turned into applause. The same mouths that said he was weak now said he was gifted. The same eyes that looked down now looked up. But he did not let it change him, because he remembered every night he cried alone. He remembered every morning he forced himself to try again. He remembered every time he almost quit but chose not to. He understood something most people never learn. Strength is built when nobody is watching. Confidence is built when nobody is cheering. Character is built when nobody believes in you. He did not hate the people who doubted him. He thanked them in his heart, because without their doubt, he would not have discovered his resilience. Without their criticism, he would not have built discipline. Without their rejection, he would not have found independence. He became proof that weakness is often misunderstood. He became proof that quiet people can be dangerous. He became proof that slow progress is still progress. He became proof that scars are not signs of defeat. They are signs of survival. And now when someone else feels small, when someone else feels overlooked, when someone else hears the words, "You are not enough," he tells them this: do not let someone else's limited vision define your unlimited potential. Do not let temporary sorrow, weakness become permanent identity. Do not let slow growth trick you into quitting, because the world is full of people who were told they were too weak, and the world is also full of people who proved them wrong. The difference is not talent. The difference is not luck. The difference is not connections. The difference is endurance. The difference is belief. The difference is refusing to quit when it would be easier to disappear. He stands taller now, not because he needs to impress anyone, but because he finally sees himself clearly. He was never too weak. He was just too early. He was never incapable. He was just unpolished. He was never behind. He was just building in silence. And if you are listening to this right now, if you have ever been called weak, if you have ever been underestimated, if you have ever doubted your own strength, let this be your reminder. Your story is not finished. Your growth is not visible yet. Your strength is not fully formed yet, but it is coming. Every failure matters. Every lonely night matters. One day the same people who underestimated you will look at you differently. One day the same world that ignored you will recognize you. One day you will look in the mirror and see someone unbreakable. Not because life was easy, not because people were kind, but because you refused to surrender. They said he was too weak. They were wrong. And if they are saying it about you, let them watch, let them talk, let them doubt, because one day their words will echo in the background of your success. And you will smile, knowing that the greatest strength you ever built was built when nobody believed in you. Keep going, keep building, keep fighting. Your weakness is not your identity. Your struggle is not your destiny. Your doubt is not your definition. You are stronger than their opinions. You are greater than their labels. You are bigger than their expectations. They said he was too weak. They were wrong. Now it is your turn to prove them wrong.